All right, Ji, Assalamu alaikum. This is Aksa Tariq, and I'm the editor-in-chief for the CXO Media Properties in Pakistan. And on behalf of my editorial team and conferences team, I'd like to welcome all of you to the first session for the CIO Pakistan Year Ahead Summit. So let me just give you a quick intro since this is the first session and we'd like to make this as comprehensive as possible. Subsequent to the launch of CXO Masters Academy, which took place last year, we've hosted several sessions in 2021 with our first 7-day long cybersecurity marathon, which was a conference inviting top CIOs, CISOs, startups, industry veterans as well as academia to talk about cybersecurity at large and all the elements that bring it together in terms of all the COVID challenges that cybersecurity has posed to enterprises. In this particular conference, we also had 2 debut speakers, the global CIO AKU, as well as the Chief Risk Officer for Mobilink Microfinance Bank, speaking for the first time at a local event in Pakistan. And that's been sort of our pride in terms of bringing you the right kind of people and insights from a very local perspective. Our CXO media brands have been conducting vendors and buyers, have been connecting vendors and buyers through our first party relationships for the last decade and a half. And so with this year, we wanted to open the year with the specific tone set towards building insights and for the coming year for enterprises. And with this, I'd like to welcome all of you to the 10th CIO Year Ahead Summit. So this has been broken into 5 virtual sessions focusing on CIO, CISO, digital and disruption, startups, as well as vendor insights, followed by a masterclass arena, where we will be kicking off 2022 to celebrate a year ahead to a digitally transformed corporate Pakistan. So for today's session, as I mentioned earlier, we are talking to CIOs to develop a live strategy and trend building session series. And keeping in mind that we're at a crucial crossover between technology, disruption, innovation, and rebuilding, we want to understand how all of us can build back better. With this, I would like to firstly, of course, introduce my speakers or my panelists for today, who will be discussing how they have led their organizations in their respective fields. I have seasoned technology leaders with me here today. Very quickly, I'd like to mention and, of course, invite up Mr. Faisal Mehman. He's the head of IT operations and SAP at 4G Fertilizer Bin Qasim Limited. And I have with me Mahmood Khan. He is the head of IT at Punjab Provincial Cooperative Bank. Both of them have significant industry experience of over 2 decades. And we'd like to hear from them, of course, starting off about their own journey, because the term CIO is relatively new, if we can still say so. It's less than a decade that Pakistan became familiar with the term CIO. So Faisal Saab, I'd like to start with you. I'd like you to give a little bit of intro about your work and talk to us about your journey as a CIO and what it's taken you to get where you are today.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Aksa, for inviting me in this session. I'm working with FABL since 1997. Before that, I did 1 year at PFD College Faisal, where I was performing as a lecturer of computer science. In FABL, it's about 25 years I'm being here. Currently leading IT teams of 4G Fertilizer Bin Qasim and its affiliates, FABL Power Company and 4G Limited in South region. We have completed multiple ICT projects, including software development, ERP implementation, infrastructure network projects, security projects. Besides that, I was and I am conducting multiple training sessions for my teams, for my colleagues, from senior management, top management to the junior one, teaching them about SAP, plant maintenance, material management, quality management. Besides that, other IT courses. Recently, I've been recognized as a transformative technology leader by Global CIO Forum Committee in the World CIO 200 Summit, as a legend in the World CIO 200 Award, Pakistan edition 2021. I've been working as a technical panelist in multiple IT forums. As far as my education is concerned, I did my master MS in software engineering, executive MBA, MSc computer science. Besides that, I am having few of the certifications, PMP, Prince 2 practitioner, ISO 27001, a lead implementer, CISA, CISM, ITIL, and SAP BI. So that's about me. Uh,
Thank you. Thank you very much for that extensive intro. Mahmood Saab, over to you. I'd like you to just talk a little bit about your career journey and how the shift to the role of a CIO has been for you.
Thank you very much, Aksa. अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी. फैसल साहब, थैंक यू वेरी मच जी. आपने अपना इंट्रोडक्शन भी किया, बहुत शुक्रिया जी. फर्स्ट टाइम आपसे मीटिंग भी हो रही है. तो अक्सा, since 1996, I did my MSc Computer Sciences from Baudi's University, Bhutan. After that, in 99, I have joined Atlas Group of Companies in Atlas Investment Bank. Actually, it was Atlas bought Investment Bank, where Bank of Tokyo having holding a lot of shares, right? After 7 years of journey as a manager IT, I have joined Escorts Bank as a head of IT. Then after 2 years, I have joined at Trust Investment Bank as head of IT. And since 2010, I'm working as CIO in Punjab Provincial Cooperative Bank in head office Lahore. So lot of things. अभी तक तो यही हुआ है कि जहाँ पे भी मुझे अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली है तो वहीं पे ही ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन होती थी. मींस के 10 years बैक जब इसको ज्वाइन किया तो यहाँ पे मैनुअल लेजर्स थे, उनको ट्रांसफॉर्म किया डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड कोर बैंकिंग सिस्टम में. और उसके बाद नाउ अडेज हम लोग डिसेंट्रलाइज को सेंट्रलाइज कर रहे हैं, राइट जी. तो दैट वाज द मोमेंट के अभी बाकी ये था कि आईसीटी के लॉट ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट्स किए, लाइक डाटा सेंटर, एटीएम मशीन्स, इंटरनेट बैंकिंग, मोबाइल बैंकिंग, लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स.
So I'd like to keep this simple, and as I mentioned to you earlier as well, that we are going to break this down into, of course, planning, priorities, and what the trends of technology look like for the enterprise today. In your opinion, and any of you can answer this first, how would you best characterize, your company's business stakeholders perceive the current IT setup? I know that initially when we started working on the CIO Pakistan magazine also, the thought used to be that this is a cost center more than anything, right? But now it's become more and more crucial for organizations and enterprises to understand that IT remains the backbone of any organization. It can't be a separate department. It has to be the central force. So if you'd like to talk a little bit about that.
जी, इसमें अक्सर पास में होता था कि आईटी जो था वो एज ए कॉस्ट सेंटर होता था, लेकिन नाउ इट इज नहीं करते. अब तो ये टेक्नोलॉजी लीडर होता है, इन माय ओपिनियन. या टोटल बैंकिंग इज डिपेंड्स अपॉन द आईटी सिस्टम्स, राइट जी. If the system is down, it means everything is down. Like front offices, branches, सारा कुछ अब centralized है. In my opinion, IT division is the business leader in banking, in my opinion.
And so, Faisal sir, we don't traditionally see the same replication in large industries. However, you've really set the tone for this within your organization. If you could elaborate a bit.
Actually, when we started, I am from the pioneers of the IT department here. So when we started, we were following up with the users to come to us for application development and for other services. But there was a time after 2 or 3 years, they were following us, rather we were following them. So naturally, we started with providing them good infrastructure, and they started recognizing IT value, because without IT, you cannot move forward. And when we shifted to ERP especially, so all the business process, because we went with 11 modules, almost each and every module like HCM, FICO, plant maintenance, material management, sales and distribution, product process planning, project system. So all the modules, when we implemented here and using the workflow, they realized that they cannot go without this ERP system. And once when we asked for them for the downtime for some maintenance activity, we didn't get enough time, or we are not allowed to go offline, because they are heavily dependent on these activities. We are running 3 companies, like I mentioned you, that FFBL Power Company and also the Pudgy Food. we all the three companies, we are running SAP systems. So naturally, the business process dependency, we have to keep track of all the stakeholders while doing any activity. What I said that they are now relying on IT services, and they are really thinking that without IT, it's not possible for them to do the business.
Sorry, I was on mute. So if I were to ask you as a CIO today, or as a head of IT, or leading the SAP's operation in your organization, what are the top priorities for you in 2022? A lot of focus has shifted in the last 2 years because of COVID, right? Like you rightly said that downtime, you weren't allowed any kind of downtime because it was crucial to businesses. And I think COVID really brought that focus on essential versus non-essential services, and both of you are in fields or in organizations that just cannot afford any kind of downtime because it's food, it's fertilizers, it's it's a multitude of things. So how would you say the focus has shifted for CIOs or for people in positions like yours, and in 2022 what is the forecast?
So when we faced the situation of COVID-19, actually our users were very much familiar with the VPN facility. They were already using services outside from office while connecting through VPN, and few of our services were deployed on cloud. So they were very much familiar on video conferences. We didn't face any major problem in this area because our users were trained enough, our IT support team was trained enough, or all the teams, they were readily available to help our customers. They did a wonderful job. In this session, I would like to appreciate my team, who especially like it's either from the support team, either is a SAP team or infrastructure team. They did a wonderful job to handle all the tasks. So we didn't get much trouble in mobilizing our user to the remote location while working from home. They were free enough to do any activity, business activity, which is essentially required.
Mehmood sir, would you like to add to this, because you're also working in a sector which is completely an essential service, especially during COVID. Just it's accelerated that distinction between an essential business and non-essential, and this was something that you could just not afford any downtime, or your customers could. How have you sort of managed that, and what are the priorities moving forward in 2022? Because it looks like the variants and other things will sort of keep coming into play. So how are you in the position that you are at sort of catering to that?
Actually, अक्सर अभी तो जो सबसे बड़ा हमें चैलेंज है वो है साइबर सिक्योरिटी nowadays for the banks. Yeah, actually our branches during the COVID, our branches were totally online. We cannot afford downtime. So in banking, IT setup is very crucial. We have primary sites and DRP sites, but if we are seeking for the future, then we are having only one challenge, that is cyber security, not only for the bank but also for the customers. It's a very, very important factor. Banks are very keen for the cyber security, not only for the to improve the add-on IT security teams. And nowadays we are building our IT security teams, more resources, hiring quality resources, right? Not the simple way. Just in past, system administrator and network administrators were there, and they were handling all the network related requirements and some firewalls and Cisco switches, kind of lot of things, network devices placed. But nowadays we are very keen about the cyber security for the future, and improving IT operations, right? And I can say compliance requirements for the banks are very important, especially for the AML CFT, anti-money laundering. Banks are very keen. So cyber security and AML compliance, two are the more challenge that I think we are facing nowadays and for 2 years ahead.
Fair enough. And I'm also taking, of course, insight from what global CIOs have said about this, and it rightly goes with what both of you have mentioned. However, there's one more thing that I'd like to ask you about when it comes to priorities or activities that you are planning for 2022, is that how much time are you able to spend within your role focusing on business strategy? Because that's something which a lot of global CIOs have identified, that that's something they wish to spend more time on, but unfortunately their role keeps us busy enough to not sort of focus on it. But if there's anything on that front that you'd like to talk about.
Actually, I think the more time is about improvement of technology, you know, uh, technology and compliance requirements. These are the two challenges. You know, budgeting is the standard thing, but technology enhancements, especially frontless things.
And especially because, so you also talked about operational efficiency, right? And a lot of people have identified that because the role itself brings its own challenges, there's always a struggle between creating a balance between business innovation as well as operational excellence, or better operational management. So what's the balance like for you?
Yes, actually, in banks we're having proper teams, you know. So operations is the routine, but development of new things are the main challenge for the CIOs, you know, development. So we are working in a set manner, like once budget is defined, and we have IT strategies, then goals, and how to achieve these things. So the transformation to the new technology-based systems, like State Bank right now offered to open the digital banks in Pakistan. You know, recently in past 2 weeks, State Bank announced that in Pakistan, 6 banks can be the future digital banks. You know, they do not have any branches. So digitalization is improving nowadays in Pakistan. So as a part of CIO, yes, in coming to future 2 years, I'm thinking about the digitalization of banking is a more factor for everyone, and this is the main challenge. You know.
And Faisal sir, what about you? Is there anything that you'd like to add in terms of because of course you're also talking about your team and how they've managed, and Mahmood Saab ne jaise kaha ki, there's always the team that's looking after the running or the operation side, but you as a visionary in this space, how has business innovation sort of ranked in your on your agenda?
Actually, if you see, where we have two type of CIOs, one who are focused on operational efficiency and the other one who are looking for the revenue generation and customer experience. As an IT expert, our role is to attract and retain our customers. Now, the challenges that we are having right now in 2020, 21, 22, that we have to give more focused on digital experience and customer experience, as we see that all the newly developed application, either it's on desktop or mobile application, they are improving their customer experience so that they can perform better and in a quick way, so that they can be performing their operational tasks easily. Now, if I talk about the organization, we have two roles. One is which is inward facing role, in which we have our internal customers. For them, we used to develop application as per their requirement, customize processes, improve processes, having a good infrastructure for them so that they can work. And then we have outward customers who are coming through some channel, like from the website or accessing our mobile application or any other application. So we have to be focused on that, what our competitors are doing, because if we are not giving enough time to review and go through the challenges which our customer is facing, we'll be naturally not be in a position to justify ourselves, because our top management, the leadership, expect from us that we give the services not only to our internal customer but also focus on the external customer. Now, how we'll be getting this experience, and how can we get this friction which resides between our internal customer and external customer? We have to sit on a service desk and experience ourselves and identify the problem they are facing, like our user who are being using the service desk solution or any type of customer facing application. Now they must be able to answer the queries of the external customers. So if they are not satisfied or they both are on not the same page, then we are the one who can improve this thing by sitting with them, having a insight in the process and get understanding to resolve that friction. Now, the other thing which Mahmood Saab said about cyber security, naturally, it's a challenge not only before to 2020, but it's a challenge in 2020 and onwards also. Nowadays, we see cyber attacks are becoming more frequent and even more sophisticated. So we must be having a proactive mindset while catching any cybersecurity threat. We know that cybersecurity professionals work in the three areas. For their main focus is people, the process, and technology. Technology in itself never makes mistakes until there is some bug or anything else. And processes do not act their own. The people are behind their process. They are defining the outcomes, and naturally they get the output what they define in the system. Now, people are the more complex in this and is the weakest link in cybersecurity. As we all know that after this coronavirus and working from home environment where people are working from home, we are getting more threats and more open to the viruses because we don't know the employer who is taking his device to the home, like he's taking his laptop at home. Who else is using his laptop? How secure is his internet connection? We don't know. His kids and family members are also using the same laptop, and we don't know if our applications are secure enough that they can protect these errors. Now, what we will be doing, and we are planning that we will be training our employees. We will be giving awareness sessions to our employees to mitigate that risk, because once our employees are well educated and literate, we will be in a position that we can avoid these type of threats and work in a better environment.
And I think that really answers a lot of the question we had on, like, enterprise planning and how we've also seen that shift in the role of the CIO. Jaise aapne pehle kaha, pehle it was all about like running efficient systems or that operational excellence which was required. Now it's a lot more. Now you have a say in the way that business is actually delivered, the way business is actually run, and also a lot of planning when it comes to business technology strategy. If I were to ask both of you on how do you think that the infrastructural needs have also evolved? Faisal Saab, you also talked about that whole culture or that environment of work from home, which is sort of a new phenomenon, of course, which has come after COVID. How does that change your infrastructural needs? How does that change your budgetary needs? We're going to break this down. I'd like to start off with your work from anywhere strategy that you have developed and implemented within your organizations. So whoever one would like to go first.
Ji, Faisal Saab, with your kind permission, please.
Aksar, when we talk about our infrastructure, naturally, when we are allowing our employees to work from home, we have to upgrade our infrastructure and keep it safe enough for our employees, for our organization, so that nothing can harm while accessing outside from the office. Because if we don't care of our infrastructure in sense of the cybersecurity threats, naturally we'll be on a back foot once if users start misusing it. Because we know that when we go live with the environment where you can work from anywhere, we have threats, and naturally your infrastructure must be in a position to defend all the attacks. If we see there is a peak in cyber attacks in 2021, even in Pakistan, if we see there are a lot of banks, there are multiple organizations who face downtime and interruption in services due to that. Now, the main focus, like Mahmood Saab said, they are now investing in people. They are hiring good resource, quality resource, because in Pakistan, what I see that we have a shortage of good resource who are actually trained well enough to handle any cyber threat. What we have seen, like when there is any cyber attack, organization hide that thing because of the credibility. Their focus is to turn up the services rather than checking out what is going into it and why this service interruption got. So the main focus, I think, is that we must be upgrading our infrastructure. Naturally, the second thing, the cloud services. When we are providing services from home, we have to ship most of the application, or we have enough infrastructure bandwidth in hand so that our customers who are connecting with our data center services to take our data center services, they must be able to get quality services rather than they are waiting for the access that they can get connected with our data center. So our bandwidth, naturally, internet services, WAN services, they must be well enough structured in a way that they can facilitate our users.
And so Mahmood Sahab, I'd like you to go on next, and then I'll pose my next question to you based on Faisal Saab's response.
अच्छा, बल्कि मैं तो ये कहूँगा कि जब कोरोना में जो रोल डॉक्टर्स ने किया था कोरोना वायरस के दौर में, तो मैं ये समझता हूँ कि आईटी ने भी स्पेशली बैंकिंग में वही काम किया है जी, राइट जी। उसका रीज़न ये था कि सारी ही सर्विसेज, प्रोडक्ट्स, एवरीथिंग, इवन के कस्टमर भी ऑनलाइन पे था, यू नो। तो इवन के अगर मैं आप लोगों से अपना एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करूँ तो ईयर 2020 में द होल ईयर मैंने एक भी छुट्टी नहीं की थी। हाल तो टीम्स जो थी वो रिमोटली भी काम कर रही थी, जो आउट स्टेशन थे वो एक महीने की छुट्टी पे भी थे, काइंड ऑफ थिंग। लेकिन मैं लेट आता था, लेकिन छुट्टी कोई नहीं की मैंने, यू नो। तो अब यही था कि आईटी बेसिकली फ्रंट लाइन पे काम कर रही है जी, इन बैंक स्पेशली। तो डेफिनेटली रिसोर्सेज को भी हमने जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर था उसको इम्प्रूव किया है, जैसे कि फैसल साहब ने फरमाया कि भाई बैंडविड्थ को भी अकॉर्डिंगली तो इस तरह से किया। लेकिन बात वही है कि जो इस टाइम बैंक्स को बड़ा चैलेंज है राइट नाउ, वो वही बात है कि साइबर सिक्योरिटी के ऊपर। क्योंकि अगर साइबर सिक्योरिटी वीक है तो एक्चुअली बिजनेस इज एवरीथिंग, यू नो। तो अगर कस्टमर सिक्योर नहीं है, उसकी फाइनेंशियल ट्रांजैक्शन सिक्योर नहीं है, तो नथिंग। all the products are based on the digital channels, you know. So this is very important for the banks, cyber security, only thing. So this is real challenge.
Thank you. So I think we will take a deeper dive into that. I'd just like to quickly also introduce Mr. Hafiz Shah, our third panelist for today. He's the head of IT operations and SAP at ICI Pakistan. And Hafiz Saab, just to get you up to speed with what we've been discussing, you know, we've talked about the evolution of the role that CIOs and head of IT have taken in various enterprises. We'd like you to talk a little bit about, of course, aapka apna role and how it's evolved. We were just talking about how COVID has, of course, accelerated and given that innovation leader as a mandate to people who are leading their IT teams. If we could quickly hear from you and then move back to our questions.
Thank you very much, Aksa. And it's nice to see all of you technology leaders of Pakistan there. Firstly, I will apologize for joining late. Actually, I told Aksa that unfortunately, since last night, I'm having a bit of flu and fever. So maybe aapko jo meri awaaz thodi si wo bhi, you know, that will not be that much clear. But anyhow, yeah, I think well, I think I will strongly agree with Mahmood Khan Saab's comment that really COVID-19 has changed the way people perceive about technology. I think we are getting more value in the organization, especially talking about, if you talk about industry. I mean, a technology guy may be working in a technology company or a software house. I think he enjoy a different kind of respect and leverage. But when it comes to, you know, a manufacturing or, you know, the different industries, industry related company, I think now people really understand that how it is important technology-enabled operations. Industry 4.0 is in discussion, right? People are working already on this, but I think this is something that has a very good future even in Pakistan or even in the region. I mean, the companies, they are heavily spending, and I know actually many of them who are really considering of machine integrations with their ERP systems. So IoT, I think, is one of the area that will be very much in boom, I think, in the coming period of time, because IoT and plus I think 5G is also on the corner, although it's not in our region, but I think it will soon it will be here as well, and it will change the way, I mean, we are operating. One of the area I think that especially industry is very focusing is process automation and robotic process automation, because everyone wants to have a operatorless execution of a project, because they know that using technology it is very much possible and they can accomplish this objective. So I think many activities and many business processes are basically choosing automation for a majority of their daily processes, with human intervention, I mean, or less. They are targeting basically less human intervention. So the thing is,
I think that really goes in line with what Mahmood Saab and Faisal Saab have said so far, and especially as you said that there are new technologies that as IT leaders you are constantly looking at. So whether it's 5G technology, whether it's edge computing, or whether it's using artificial intelligence or machine learning to integrate. So I think the end point could be different for everyone. For someone, it could be customer experience. For someone, it could be operational excellence, or for someone, it could just be improving that own employee experience also. But I believe that those different areas are what's driving these tech initiatives in IT investments. I'd like to ask all of you that given that your role or that you've been heading this department in your organizations for a while now, have you seen that shift in when you would and Hafiz, we had talked about this a bit earlier also, that IT was first looked at as a cost center. Of course, that little bit of a shift has come in when we're talking about the C-suite, or we're talking about the board or the enterprise itself. How do you see that IT investments are now viewed or should be viewed in 2022 and moving forward?
I think it has changed also. I mean, before, yes, even though I will not say 100% they are not considering IT cost center, but then they know that without digital transformations, they will be no more competitive in the market or in the industry that they are operating. So I think companies are heavily spending now in technology. They have started building 3 years or 5 year roadmaps even. And in fact, some of the organizations, I mean, people contacted me, and when I just review their BOQ of a particular licensing of a software, I was amazed to see that in Pakistan even people are spending this much of money of just buying a particular ERP system or the components or the add-ons onto that ERP system. So I think companies are doing it. One of the area I think maybe Faisal was talking about when I joined is related to the cyber security. I think this is something that people have started realizing that they have to invest something into this. They have to even build in-house teams, because it's not only that you will buy a software and then it will start operating on its own. You need to have a information system security teams within your IT departments or technology department or whatever structure someone have, and then those teams will be working on multiple platforms or solutions to get the best of the best information and to keep ourselves secure. Because don't forget, digital transformation, and when you talk about a lot of integrations, then you are exposing your systems, you are exposing to internet, you are giving leverage to someone to get in, right? So I think this is also something there has been many awareness sessions and I think events on this in the last couple of years. And I still see that this will be one of the key areas in the next future.
Thank you. Thank you very much for saying that. Faisal Saab, if you'd like to add to this, to my first question on, how the technology investments are, of course, increasing and how it's perceived within an organization.
So when we talk about infrastructure, that is the one thing which I've already highlighted, that we have to improve our infrastructure. Besides that, what we have to do is that we rather than investing more on the hardware and more on the servers, we now we're moving to virtualized environment where we can facilitate our customers so that both the cost may be brought on downside and investing on other areas where we can get more benefit. Like we talked about data analytics and AI. Now we know that the vast amount of data is created every day, and what estimate suggests that there will be 175 zettabytes of data which will be globally available by 2025. So when we talk about AI and data analytics, these are the areas where more investment is required. Because in Pakistan, especially when we talk about this area, although there are some companies which are already investing and have started working on the data analytics and all these things, but there is a lot to be done on this area. Now, if we talk about worldwide investment in AI, where other companies, I would like to share some of the examples here that like we talk about Alibaba. This is world largest e-commerce site. Now they have utilized artificial intelligence and machine learning in their systems, and now what they are doing, that they are analyzing their details and they are recommending products to the customer, and on the other side they are communicating to retailers that to build the inventory, that this thing will be in more demanding in this period of time. Then the city brain, this is again an example of AI by Alibaba. They have created such an environment for the transportation, urban government, culture, tourism, health. They are using AI facilities, and these are the smart cities which they are working on. Then if you talk about Alphabet, the Google parent company, they started in 2020 by expanding their services on self-driving cars so that they can give the facility to the customers that they can call a taxi and without a driver, and they can move freely everywhere. So even in if you talk about the service in California, that's already implemented. The service name, I think it is Waymo and Cruise. They have started offering their driverless services in that area. So these are the uses which are already taken by some of the companies on the top layer, and they are even succeeding by implementing this thing. There are a few other examples. I talk about like Bedu AI. This is a clone anyone voice in a minute. If you talk by using this application, they can clone your voice and they can talk on behalf of you. So we can see how world is moving. And Facebook, we are actually monitoring our behavior now. Even now, one step forward, what they are doing, they are using AI to predict our emotions, what we are typing, with what speed we are typing, and on the basis of that, they will judge that what type of emotion we are having right now. So there are a lot of things in the market which already are captured, and they are doing a good job while implementing AI. But in this area, especially in Pakistan, we are far behind, and we have to invest in this area to get a good understanding.
If I were to ask you also about how the budgetary shifts you've seen or moving towards 2022 and beyond, as Hafiz Shah also said that you all of you forecast a 3-year plan and a 5-year plan, so there's a short term and a long term. How has that shift come about in your organization in this year? Sorry, Faisal Sahab, you're on mute.
If we talk about the budget, naturally there is some rise because we are planning to invest on talent development, because when we see a technology shift, we have to train our we have to train our teams so that they can provide better services, like in the area of cybersecurity, like Mahmood Sahab highlighted that they are investing on it. So the other area is for providing services to the cloud offerings. If we are having a cloud, internal cloud available, local cloud services which we are having providing internally. So the second area is that where we are planning, or we will be shifting that thing. Naturally, that will also increase the budget. The third area is the cybersecurity. This area naturally require now more in the investment, because we have to secure our systems. Like we highlighted that due to COVID, when we are export to the cloud services, cloud offering, naturally the risk of handling these things, attacks is increased. So this area also require investment. So there is a shift in this, the budget. Although there were some cut downs because of the when we see in many organizations, they have reduced the IT budget. The reason was that the organization itself was not in a position to earn the profit. So they were reducing the cost in every area. But there, on the other side, there is a requirement that this, especially IT budget, need to be increased to facilitate our customer and to be in the market to compete with other customers.
Thank you. And Mahmood Sahab, would you like to add something there?
Exactly. Bilkul ji, Aksa, IT investments are increasing. You know, one of my friend was telling in Pakistan, one of a commercial bank in top 10 banks, their annual IT maintenance in the past year was 2.2 billion rupees. So it means, yes, IT investments are increasing. Like we are also transforming our decentralized core banking system to the centralized, because in decentralized we are having a lot of issues. बल्कि हफीज साहब, मैं ये भी कहना चाहूँगा कि डिसेंट्रलाइज में ये एक्सपीरियंस था कि हमें ये भी डर रहता था कि कोई भी सीपीयू को बगल में उठाए और लेके चला जाए, राइट जी, कि हर ब्रांच के अंदर हमने एक सर्वर रखा होता था। तो लेकिन ये क्या, जैसे ये सिक्योरिटी के भी इश्यूज हैं और उसके अलावा अप टाइम के भी इश्यूज हैं, राइट जी, तो कंसोलिडेशन के भी इश्यूज थे। तो ड्यू टू दिस रीजन वी हैव सस्पेंडेड अमाउंट ऑन द सेंट्रलाइज्ड to give the better and secure services to our valuable customers. So yes, in banks, in banking industry of the Pakistan, IT investments are, yes, really increasing.
And with that, I'd like, sorry, Faisal Sahab, go ahead.
I want to add one more thing, that one more thing which require more budgeting, we have to create the DR side. We must be capable enough to run our systems from the remote side, and we have to invest in DR, because what we have seen, many companies, they don't even plan to run the business outside from the premises which they are offering. But now the situation is changed. As we are more prone to cyber attacks, we have to be ready enough to run our services anywhere, or from outside the area or the defined DR site. So naturally, this also requires investment.
बल्कि अक्सर इसमें मैं थोड़ा सा इजाफा करना चाहूँगा फैसल साहब की, कि फैसल साहब बिल्कुल जी, जो डीआरपी साइट है एक्चुअली जियोग्राफिकल क्लस्टरिंग, राइट जी, दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, इवन more important than the primary site. In our mode, first the transactions are recorded in the DRP site, then to the primary site. In case of any disaster in the primary site, then DRP site is the primary site. So yes, you are right. DRP is the equally good and equally having a lot of investments. Yeah.
Absolutely, I think that goes in line with what Faisal Sahab was also talking about the global agenda has been, and I think Pakistani companies, especially the large enterprises, have been quick to replicate or bring that same to Pakistan. If I were to ask each of you, where do you see your own involvement to increase in the year 2022? So, Hafiz, would you like to take this first?
Yeah. Before talking about this, just a small addition to the discussion that was going on. I think one of the part is related to the cloud. Basically, when you talk about primary as well as DR sites, I know that we are traditionally working on-prem, but I think many of the companies, they are shifting to the cloud model now. They are going to, subscription model. So not only in terms of primary and DR side, by the way, they are following the same methodology. They are using their data center for a DR side, which is totally in a different geographical location. But I think now this is another thing that technology companies like Microsoft, like SAP, like Oracle, there are initiatives, for example, from Oracle, that it's a cloud only. Now SAP has started that cloud is the first. So they are not pushing you that you need to be on cloud, but I can see ultimately it is coming. They want everyone to be, and I think this is a smart way of business from technology company, that they are basically keeping everything, they are even giving you infrastructure as a service. They are saying that, okay, not only the software license or, you will pay for subscription, but we will reduce your cost. And you don't need to have a data center. You don't need to have a large, set up large teams, but we will give you. I mean, one of the discussions last week I was having with SAP Pakistan, they have a product like Rise, right? This is the cloud first, and even they were telling me, you don't need SAP administrator in your company. We will handle it. We will manage it for you. So you see, I think cloud is also one of the area that is in the limelight, basically.
And it's only progressing. We've seen that trend globally as well as locally also. So locally, I think cloud adoption is still a thing. There are still smaller or media enterprises now switching to the cloud, but then there's so much more to it, as you rightly said, that companies are constantly sort of innovating and seeing what and how they can improve their efficiency in whatever form, whether it's driving revenue, whether it's building operational excellence. So I think that will always remain a part of it. It will only accelerate as we move forward. So coming back to my question, how are you viewing this as a change?
Sorry, change in terms of what? Sorry, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was on mute. I was saying, when we were talking about, my question to you would be that, when we're navigating technology decisions, or when we're talking about even, for example, cloud, as your role as the head of IT, what are some of the areas which you see will be increasingly, including your involvement? It could be about cybersecurity, as Mahmood Sahab was talking about. It could be data privacy. It could be compliance. It could be using data for better business decisions. So in the position that you are at, what are some of the key areas which will involve you, which will increase your involvement in 2022?
Well, I think one of the area I think is now what is happening whenever. So before it was happening like, if I will compare it as a change. So before it was happening like, I will get a call from my senior management, and I get to know that there is a plant we acquired and the commercial production will start from next month, right? So when commercial production is about to start, then you need to have everything in place in terms of IT infrastructure, in terms of business applications, and obviously including SAP. Now it is different. with the passage of time, and I think in the coming year as well, now I have been part of the discussions when, you know, when there is a plan of acquiring some business, or there is a plan to start a new business, right? So I think now, from the beginning of the process, I'm there, and this will, I think, help me a lot, because in terms of you know, giving workarounds, in terms of you know, sometimes you have to deliver, instead of having delivered a half cooked product, I think I will be in a better position to fulfill the requirement and meet the expectations of the all stakeholders. So I think this is something very positive, and this relates to the same discussion we were having earlier, that now the companies and even the management, non-technology companies, even understand that, you know, why it is important to engage the technology team right in time, because ultimately it will give benefit to the business itself. So this is something that I really look into, and one of the areas that we are focusing now is basically RPA. Basically, why I'm saying this, because I think one of the areas that companies are looking forward is to look at their customer, their convenience. Now you can see that many platforms, they are offering chatbots. So you just simply write down something and it will do something for you, right? Now with the help of RPA, even at software level, it can do many transactions even in the system automatically. You don't need someone to, you know, be there and then execute the transaction. So this is something that we are basically working on. And if I will give you one example, so there is a product, Amazon Go. So basically Amazon Go is also using the IoT, and you know, the system basically use IoT and machine vision technology to enable customers to purchase products without manual checkouts now. So this is something that even Amazon is have introduced, and I think we also got a certain level of you know, sort of wish list, I think, coming from the top, that yes, if the world is doing it, I think we can also do it. So this is yep.
Absolutely, and I think this resonates closely with the other panelists also, because they did talk about this earlier. Mahmood Saab and Faisal Saab, if you'd like to just add on about, you know, your own priorities and what are some of the things that in 2022 you were focusing on as a strategic advisor or business partner within your organization.
जी इसमें बल्कि मैं थोड़ा सा इंक्लूडिंग आपके क्वेश्चन के साथ हफीज साहब की भी बात को थोड़ा सा इंक्रोस करूंगा कि जी हफीज साहब जो क्लाउड सर्विसेज हैं, तो वेरी अनफॉर्चुनेट के पाकिस्तान में जो रेगुलेटर है स्टेट बैंक ऑफ पाकिस्तान वो अलाउड नहीं करता जी किसी भी बैंक को कि वो उसको ना क्लाउड के ऊपर अपना डाटा सेंटर जो है ना होस्ट कर सके। और ड्यू टू दिस रीजन और फिर कस्टमर्स की जो फाइनेंशियल प्राइवेसी है डाटा की, तो हम लोग तो हमारा डाटा सेंटर भी और डीआरपी भी हमारे पास ही होती है, राइट जी? क्योंकि जैसे पीटीसीएल का डाटा सेंटर है, डीआरपी बहुत सारी कंपनीज उसको इंजॉय कर रही है, लेकिन बैरियर फॉर कि हमें तो उन्होंने कहा है कि भाई आप 60 किलोमीटर अवे जो है ना जी प्राइवेट साइट से ही अपनी साइट बना सकते हैं। तो इट मीन्स कि आल्दो कि अभी रिसेंटली एक ट्रायल चला है जो कि एनटीसी टेक ने, कराची बेस्ड कंपनी है, उसने पीटीसीएल के डाटा सेंटर पे इस्लामाबाद में बैंकिंग सिस्टम होस्ट किया है सर्विसेज बेस्ड मॉडल पे। तो लेकिन वो अभी बहरहाल अभी लॉन्च नहीं हुआ। तो लेकिन ये कि हम लोग ये इवन के जो ईमेल सर्विस भी हम लोग वो भी नहीं कर सकते जी अपने स्टाफ का भी, और स्पेशली स्टाफ के लिए डेफिनेटली ईमेल्स तो स्टाफ के लिए। तो बाकी ये कि जी अक्सर कम्स टू योर क्वेश्चन, तो उसमें ये है कि जी अभी 2022 में बेसिकली जो प्रायोरिटीज हैं वो यही है कि आईटी के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को एनहेंस करना है, और उसके अलावा जो एप्लीकेशंस हैं स्मार्ट एप्लीकेशन, राइट जी, उसके ऊपर हमारी प्रायोरिटीज हैं। उसके अलावा जो ट्रेडिशनल एटीएम का फिजिकल सेटअप होता था नहीं जी, अब उस पर नहीं है जी। अब बेसिकली जो कस्टमर्स हैं वो इवन के एटीएम और इंटरनेट बैंकिंग भी नहीं करता, क्योंकि वहाँ पे सिक्योरिटी लैप्स हो जाते हैं, स्पेशली इंटरनेट के ऊपर। जबकि मोबाइल बैंकिंग यस दिस इज द फ्यूचर ऑफ पाकिस्तान इन माय पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू। अगले जो है मैं ये समझता हूँ कि जो एरा में वो सिर्फ मोबाइल बैंकिंग ही होगी ड्यू टू सिक्योरिटी क्लैप्स जो भी पाकिस्तान में एटीएम मशीन पे भी होते हैं, स्कैम्स होते हैं, उसके अलावा इंटरनेट के ऊपर भी दोनों नहीं फ्यूचर में होंगे जो हम देख पाए। बट जो मोबाइल के थ्रू है वो यस दैट इज सिक्योर। तो इन माय ओपिनियन कि हम लोग तो इसी पे ही मोबाइल पे ही कर रहे हैं। जी प्लीज।
Thank you,
See,
Mahmood
just
Saab.
to add on Mahmood साहब, I think you very rightly said. मैं कहता होता हूँ हम ना हमेशा थोड़ा सा लेट होते हैं, ठीक है? So we know that something is coming up, right? But we always take a time. I think it's a process that starts from Europe, America, then it comes to Middle East, and then to Asia Pacific. So even I remember many cases when the cloud solutions were coming for employee payroll. So during that period in time, I was in Qatar, and I remember that there were regulations that you cannot keep even employee compensation data online, right? But it was like 7, 8 years before, and now it is happening there. So sooner or later, I think such these regularities will understand, and they will develop systems and allow banks as well to keep their data on there, because that is the ultimate future, by the way. This is something that we are heading to. Thank you.
Ji Faisal Saab, sorry, you've been waiting patiently listening to everyone on.
So you talk about that what are our targets in 2022 and how we can be strategically involved in developing our organization. First of all, what I'll say here that we must be having a digital mindset, and we know that the world is constantly transforming and in all areas of society. And the challenge by this change is that we all have to change our past or current practices and work in a way that and accept the change. What we see that denial is a common reaction. If we do any change, we get some resistance from our employees, from our customers, that we have been doing this work since long. Now, what is the requirement to change the things? But what we have seen, like if you talk about the video conferencing solution, in companies, we have just started these things few years back. And if I talk about myself, at the age of 40 or 45, 50, we have started using these applications. But we, on the other side, if we see our children's, they are using at the age of 3, they have started using this technology. So there is a change and mind shift. The young generation is very much involved in these technologies. So at the organizational level, we must be accepting that there is a requirement to change ourselves, to have a courage to accept the change and to question what was running in past and what is running now, so that how it can be improved in a way that they can help in this now what the environment which we are having right now. So we have to think positively, and on the other side, we have to act accordingly. If we will not move on faster pace, naturally, then we will be behind, and our business will be suffering a lot because of these changes. Now, like we already highlighted that the process automation, this is the area. When we talk about process automation, although we have done this exercise and we have implemented SAP in 2009 and 2010, but what I think, these processes need to be evaluated at certain frequency, and repeatedly you have to monitor those processes, because it's not a good practice to configure the process once and skip it for a longer period of time. What is required here is that we continuously review and improve the processes in a way that identify the bottlenecks, because there are many changes which are nowadays coming, and the customer is facing problem, the employee is facing problem. Now what we have to do is we have to address those problems and try to improve that process. यहाँ पे एक चीज मैं जो कहना चाहूंगा कि हमारे प्रोसेसेस में एक चीज आती है कि हमने ऑटोमेट तो कर दिया, लेकिन व्हाट वी सी दैट नॉट एवरीथिंग कैन बी अचीव्ड थ्रू ऑटोमेशन. देयर आर सम एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव टास्क आल्सो. नाउ इफ सपोज आई गेट अ वर्कफ्लो on my desk, but I don't know why that item keep on pending for many days with that user. I have to dig out that problem, why he is taking so long to process that item. On the back end, either he is doing some manual work, either there are some policies or procedures which are required by him to take the time. Now, if I dig out that problem, naturally I'll be improving my process. The other thing which area which we'll be focusing on the trainings, employee training in the area of cybersecurity, employee training in the area of business process understanding, employee training and workshop sessions where we can engage our people to get an understanding of the problem which they are having in the existing process and the areas which need to be improved. So these will be the areas which we'll be focusing now in 2022.
Thank you. And I think that brings me to my next question was going to be on skills in demand. And, that's something that each of you have identified on trainings, not just employee trainings, but also talent. So talent also comes with both challenges, of course, talent acquisition and also talent retention, because that's something which no matter which industry you're in, it remains a big challenge. There are some areas which have been identified by other technologists as well on security and risk management as a skill in demand. It could be technology integration, it could be technology implementation, or even IT architecture. I'd like to ask each one of you, what are some of the skills in demand according to you to support the digital initiatives that your organizations are running? So Hafiz Shah, we can start with you.
Yeah, I think there are two that I would like to highlight. One is data. I think now we understand the data is the king, and I think big data is one of the area that someone should. I mean, if he is in a role that he need to learn and excel in this, that will be, I think, very good in terms of future. And the second that is related to the cybersecurity. This is something very hard, and this is need of the hour. And I think there will be many opportunities in this area. So these are the couple of areas that I think someone can consider.
What about any leadership or management skill that you think should be in demand to support those digital initiatives?
Well, actually, leadership is a very big area. It's and not in terms of in technology. I think technology in itself is very huge. So there are different specializations, and yes, definitely leadership. That is something that you learn, right? And you basically whatever area is yours. I mean, many of the people, it's same sort of specialization doctors basically have. So someone is good in ERP system, someone is good in networks, someone is good in development side, for example. So leader is something that you need to learn, that you need to understand in a generic way. I would not like to particularly in some technology area.
Sure. So Faisal Saab and Mahmood Saab, the same question to you. So what are some of the skills in demand you think are required to support the digital initiatives you're running? So Faisal Saab, over to you.
So I feel like Hafiz Saab said that cybersecurity area and naturally the analytical area, here we will be having a manpower shortage. Now the reason is that when we have multiple opportunities like working from home, many of the resources are moving to perform the task freelancing activities. So naturally, why should one be going to an office and have a fixed time frame and doing the job in office? So they prefer to be working from home in their own personal time, and they can spend as per their requirement. So the main challenge is that the lot of opportunities have created after this COVID. The employment opportunities of freelancing are grown. So now the requirement is that the resource you are having internally, you have to build a talent on the basis of that. Although the resources which are already in the market, you can get those resources. But besides that, you have to invest on them to be more, to get more value from them. This is the area where we'll be requiring more resources.
Thank you. And
One more thing, what I want to add, now what we have seen, there is if you belong to any of the business, you must be IT literate enough to work nowadays, because either you are an IT expert, you are a CIO, you are a CEO, you are any businessman. You are nowadays, there are a lot of things which are available in the market, and without the knowledge of technology, you cannot take benefit. And if you are not taking benefit of those available resources, then you will be actually in having a bad time. So what talent requirement is now required at every platform, at every functional area, not only in IT. So talent, we have to grow our capabilities in the IT products to gain more understanding.
Thank you. So Mahmood Sahab, over to you.
जी अक्सर थैंक यू वेरी मच जी। मैं तो ये कहूँगा कि जी स्किल्ड स्टाफ इज ऑलवेज इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर एनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, बट फैसल साहब एक चीज़ मैं मेंशन करना चाहूँगा कि राइट नाउ आईटी इंडस्ट्री इन द पाकिस्तान ह्यूज शॉर्टेज ऑफ आईटी रिसोर्सेज। रियली हम बंदा ढूंढने जाते हैं, बंदे नहीं मिलते। रीज़न ये है कि जैसे फैसल साहब ने भी फरमाया था कि लोग वर्क फ्रॉम होम भी कर रहे हैं, फ्रीलांसिंग भी कर रहे हैं, अपवर्क पे भी काम कर रहे हैं, तो लोग जो है जी वो डिमांड भी जो है ना वो डॉलर्स में ही करते हैं, जो स्किल्ड स्टाफ है। तो ये चैलेंज तो है जी हमें, ठीक है ना जी। जो सैलरीज थी वो भी मल्टीप्लाई हो गई हैं कि अगर किसी की लेट्स सपोज 2 साल पहले, मतलब अभी रिसेंटली मैं एक केस सुनाता हूँ। एक लाहौर में एक सॉफ्टवेयर हाउस था जी, उसने एक जावा के रिसोर्स को हायर किया एट द सैलरी ऑफ 3 लाख। एट द सेम टाइम एक और सॉफ्टवेयर हाउस ने डबल पे उसको हायर कर लिया। और लाहौर में तो ये सूरत आ रहा है कि हम रिसोर्सेज ढूंढते हैं, हमें बंदे नहीं मिलते, तो जो मिलते हैं वो ऑलरेडी इंगेज हैं, जो एक्सपीरियंस्ड हैं लोग, वो ऑलरेडी अपवर्क पे या जो फ्रीलांसिंग साइट्स हैं, तो दे आर अर्निंग सो वेल। सो इन माय पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू देयर इज अ ह्यूज शॉर्टेज ऑफ आईटी स्टाफ इन पाकिस्तान। और उसके अलावा ये है कि जो मैं फ्यूचर के लिए देखता हूँ वो मुझे ऐसे लगता है कि इंफॉर्मेशन सिक्योरिटी के लिए इस फील्ड में बहुत पोटेंशियल है और इसमें बहुत जो है ना ग्रोथ है। उसके अलावा जितने भी अदर एरियाज हैं डेफिनेटली वो काफ़ी मैच्योर भी हो चुके हैं, उनमें सर्टिफिकेशन भी हैं हर स्किल हर फील्ड के अंदर। जैसे सिस्को,
any particular skill that you would like to specifically talk about? Just for example, Hafiz Saab said that
information security, yeah, it's a new area, information security.
I think that's a key element, you know, for us also to take away, that, you know, large organizations like yours are looking at as a main, you know, agenda for 2022. So that gives, I think, a lot of, as you rightly said, a lot of IT partners on something to think about, you know, whether we are leading these large scale digital initiatives or Hafiz Saab ne pehle kaha tha ki, you know, when we're moving towards digital transformation, we also need to understand that we're exposing our systems, we're all exposed to vulnerabilities. And we've seen that global trend in the last few years. Before Hafiz Saab joined in, Faisal Saab was also talking about, you know, people or organizations not reporting enough about their own initiatives, because obviously it shows the vulnerabilities that lie within an organization. However, I think that there has been a slight shift with Pakistan's first national cybersecurity policy also coming in, and it's also become part of the government agenda when it comes to cyber or digital initiatives. So I think that's a big shift in focus for everyone. I'd like any of you to take this as we wrap up our discussion. What are your thoughts on sustainability as we move towards, a lot of the dialogue globally as well has moved towards sustainable businesses, towards sustainable initiatives. Is there anything within your digital transformation plans that is focusing on sustainability? So Mahmood Saab or Hafiz Saab, if you'd like to go in first.
इसमें थोड़ा सा अक्सर इसको elaborate कर दीजिएगा प्लीज, जो आपका क्वेश्चन है ना थोड़ा सा elaborate कर दीजिएगा.
So globally also the agenda on sustainability has been one where large organizations like yourselves are looking at say in a more sustainable towards economy, sustainable towards businesses, sustainability in terms of say improvements in efficiencies, right? So your existing systems and how they can be improved using, of course, technology tools and others.
इसमें अक्सर बिल्कुल जी, जो ये महंगाई और फाइनेंशियल इम्पैक्ट है, ऑब्वियसली ये कस्टमर की बाइंग पावर के ऊपर तो डिपेंड करता है, ठीक है. एवरीथिंग इज कस्टमर, अगर कस्टमर की बाइंग पावर है तो डेफिनेटली बिजनेस की ग्रो करते हैं. एज फार एज कंसर्न टू द बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री, तो इन माय पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू तो बैंकों के तो डिपॉजिट बहुत इंक्रीज हुए हैं ऑनेस्टली, ठीक है ना, उनको तो कोई इतना बड़ा फर्क नहीं पड़ा. लेकिन बाकी जो अदर इंडस्ट्री है उस पे हफीज साहब और फैसल साहब अगर थोड़ा सा कमेंट्स देना चाहें कि उनके सेक्टर्स में जो है एक ऐसा चैलेंज हुआ है, जब बैंक्स के तो बिजनेस ग्रो किए जी ऑनेस्टली, कोविड में भी और फ्यूचर में हमें कोई इतना बड़ा चैलेंज नजर नहीं आ रहा ऑनेस्टली.
Well, actually, apart from dollar rate, I don't see any challenge in our company as well, because this is, I think, one of the area that basically gave us a hit. Otherwise, because ICI is as a large scale manufacturing company, and we are the basically we are providing the raw materials to the industry to develop their products. So yes, during last couple of years, I think we did very good, and in terms of business growth, in terms of our top line and bottom lines, I think I don't see any challenge. However, I think efficiency is one of the area that because when you talk about large scale manufacturing, you talk about huge plants, very huge plants with a lot of machinery and a lot of systems going on there. For example, some of the plants that I would go there and I will see that they have a totally different isolated system in engineering, for example, right? So one of the leverage I think that we can take basically is that and this is something that also in my plan, we are basically working on MII, which is machine interface and integration. We want all those systems to be integrated with our SAP system, right? And then obviously, because ultimately everything is on the analytics layer, the presentation layer. So we need to integrate with those systems and pull out all the information there, because then it will give us a holistic picture of where for example, the cost is going much, and where we can leverage predictive analytics to stay ahead of the things. So this is something I think we are looking forward basically.
Faisal Saab, is that something that is on the agenda for FFPL as well?
I'll talk in general. In 2022, what we see that COVID-19 pandemic will continue to impact our lives in many ways. It means that we will continue to see an accelerated rate of digitalization and virtualization of business and society. However, as we are in 2022, the need, like you said, of sustainability, ever increasing data volumes, increasing compute and network speed, they will begin to regain their status as the most important drivers of digital transformation. Now, as a society, we undoubtedly continue to harness this newfound openness to flexibility, agility, and innovation thinking, as the focus shifts from merely attempting to survive in a changing world to thriving in it. Now, in my opinion, the focus will be faster connectivity, reskilling our employees, customer engagement, our infrastructure improvement, education, and cloud computing. These will be the more challenging requirement in 2022.
Thank you. And I think a reference to what Mahmood Sahab had asked me also as to how we could, further sort of elaborate on this is that, global attention has increasingly focused on, of course, environmental and how businesses will be urged to make greater contributions. So this comes from a global agenda as well as nationally as well on, sustainable practices. And Hafiz Sahab, as you rightly said, that both of you are representing large industries. And technology is the driver of that innovation across those industrial ecosystems. So we're only hoping to see that this will only improve in the coming years. Large scale businesses are looking at delivering or making better contributions to improving sustainability for every stakeholder. With this, I'd just like to ask if there are any closing comments from each of you, and then we can proceed towards wrapping up the session.
थैंक यू वेरी मच अक्सा, बहुत शुक्रिया जी, आपने इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे सबको इकट्ठा किया। होपफुली कि इंशाल्लाह जो नेक्स्ट टाइम भी आप जब भी हमें इनवाइट करेंगे, वी आर ऑलवेज पार्ट ऑफ योर टीम।
Thank you very much for your time and contribution.
Welcome. Thank you, Faisal Sahab. Thank you, Hafiz Sahab.
Thank you, Mahmood Sahab. And I'm sorry because, like I said, I'm having flu. तो मेरी हो सकता है कोई बात अगर बड़ी क्लियर तरीके से मैं कम्युनिकेट ना कर सका हूं तो आई एम रियली सॉरी।
You said very well. You said very well.
But like Akshay said, as a closing note, if I would like to share, I think we have discussed all the top trends in 2022 in technology and the automation, the virtualization, IoT, and applied artificial intelligence. I think it's time to start incorporating this industry inside knowledge to our benefits, right? And yes, and that's why I think that's where we will stay ahead of the competition. So it's very important.
Absolutely. Faisal Sahab, anything from you?
Thank you, Aksa. It was a nice discussion. It was a wonderful session. I was able to gain understanding and in-depth knowledge of Mahmood Sahab and Hafiz Sahab. They explained in a good way. So naturally fruitful session. We'll be continue joining these type of sessions in future also.
Inshallah.
Nice platform for meetup. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
It's really nice from your side.
Thank you very
because
much
I think it's good that if we have all the technology leaders on such platforms and share these insights with each other and talk about what is happening in technology. I think this
Absolutely.
is a good.
I think that's what fuels our work as well, and it helps each one of us grow in our own capacities. So thank you very much for sharing your insights and bringing your knowledge to the table, and for taking our time. We understand that it's of course the first working day, and Hafiz, especially you, because I believe you're unwell. So thank you once again to all of our speakers and our partner Comtel for joining us for today's event. And with this, we're going to wrap up. I'd just like to quickly summarize that while CIOs were the surprise pandemic hero, as Mahmood Sahab rightly said, that it was at par at what doctors were doing in the hospitals, CIOs or IT teams were doing within organizations to keep them steady and going. So they have been the force behind digital innovation, and they've spent the last 2 years particularly focused on a lot of fundamentals, from modernizing enterprise architecture to ensuring operations are agile, resilient, and secure. So with this, of course, thanks to the discussion that we've had today, we've understood that CIOs are now operationalizing new technology investments, delivering on promised business outcomes. And this swinging back to foundational and IT governance work should not be viewed as a setback or reversal of status. Rather, the shift is part of a natural cycle of technology-driven business, with CIOs continuing their outsized role in leading business transformation. We've seen cybersecurity emerge as a main real theme this year, and we hope that a lot of work goes into developing that vertical particularly. So thank you to all our speakers for joining in and contributing. With this, we'd like to wrap up. Thank you very much, and Allah Hafiz from our side.
Hafiz. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hafiz.